You've tuned into another edition of The Break Room, a weekly conversation about how the City of St. Augustine works from those who do the work every day. Hosted by the City of St. Augustine's Communications Director, Melissa Wissel, The Break Room offers a closer look at the different city departments and provides updates on current and upcoming projects and events. And now, your host, Melissa Wissel.
Welcome to The Break Room. Thanks for stopping by. I'm Melissa Wissel, Communications Director for the City of St. Augustine. It feels like we've been in emergency management mode for quite some time. We've been managing through COVID well over a year. We just wrapped up the vaccines at the Solomon Calhoun Center. And now, just as we feel like we're finally getting back to some sense of normal, it's time to shift gears and think about preparing for hurricane season. And for many new residents, this may be a new topic of conversation. So who better to join me this week in the break room but our own fire chief and emergency manager, Chief Carlos Avalis. Chief, thanks for coming back.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to be here.
So, like I mentioned in our intro here, we talk about this every year, beginning of hurricane season. It runs from June through November. But we have a lot of new residents, so maybe a new message to a lot of people.
We do, yep. So, we're gearing up for this year's hurricane season, transitioning and shifting gears, and it does feel nice. So this is actually the first week that we have not had a COVID call center at the EOC. So we're very excited. This is a small glimpse of returning to, in the EM world, a sense of normalcy where we're shifting fire and focusing on, our seasonal threats, and that is hurricanes now.
And the EOC call center has been going on since, March of 2020?
Yes.
But the call center is an important piece of the puzzle of all emergencies because if something happens, it gets reactivated.
Correct. Yep. No, it was staffed 7 days a week by volunteers for well over a year. So again, it's nice to be able to shift gears away from the COVID response and the vaccine mission, and kind of get back into a little bit more of our bread and butter, right. which is hurricane planning this time of year. But you hit the nail on the head. We have a lot of new residents to this area, so we feel it's very prudent and important to get this message out there to them, as early as possible.
So everybody, even folks coming from the north, they've endured storms. They have hurricanes as well, maybe not quite to what we see. Everybody's used to the batteries, the water. What type of message is important for us to relay to our residents, St. Johns County, and particularly here in the St. Augustine and our low-lying area?
So, the most important message is always that this is the time to prepare. Right, that right now under blue skies is the best time for you to stock up your kit, go through your checklist, understand your evacuation routes, where you would have to go, what would warrant an evacuation, and there are a lot of tools and resources that we're going to get into here to help guide those citizens in the right direction.
So evacuation is probably one thing that a lot of people who are new here that live in city limits and in this low-lying area may not be accustomed to. That evacuation threat needs to be taken seriously, or the evacuation notification, or that it's coming, or need to pay attention to your zone. Talk about our zones.
So we, you're right. So let's talk about what evacuation orders, if we have to issue them, those are issued because of an imminent danger to life and property, and primarily, those are issued because of threats of rising water, right? So it is going to be primarily the barrier islands and low-lying areas that we would see those evacuation orders come through. And so there is a tool on the St. Johns County Emergency Management website. It's the Know Your Zone tool, right? And so the county's EM website is www.sjcemergencymanagement, all spelled out, .com. And if you go to the Know Your Zone tool, it's super simple. You can plug in your address, and it'll tell you what evacuation zone you are in. And so it's important to know that ahead of time. There's oftentimes the messaging gets a little bit confusing, or you're listening to things on different Facebook pages instead of getting your information from reliable sources. So now is the time to know exactly what zone you would be in and how likely you would be to have to evacuate.
And we'll normally announce it, evacuation zone A, zone B. So it's not like we say, if you live on Anastasia Island, you should probably evacuate.
Right. It won't go neighborhood by neighborhood.
Right.
It'll just be a blanket zone, and you need to know what that zone is now. So the Know Your Zone tool is a great resource for that, and we'll leave a copy of that link in the description and in the comment section.
We also talk about evacuations. We see a lot of traffic jams. I-95 is totally blocked, can't get through. We're not talking you need to go to Georgia or to Tallahassee. Of course, it depends on where the storm is headed, but it just means get inland. Doesn't necessarily mean get 5 hours away.
No, that's correct. Yeah, we just want you to go somewhere safe, away from rising water. That's going to be the primary threat for you. Whether it be a coast, and sometimes it's just a coastal event where we just need to evacuate the barrier islands, and most of the mainland would be relatively unaffected.
And evacuating to hotels, the schools, we open up our schools?
Yep, we do have shelters that open up. So some of them are pet friendly, some of them are special needs shelters. Again, go back onto that St. Johns County Emergency Management website, understand what shelter would be closest to you or what shelter you would want to go to in the event of an evacuation if you didn't have a place to go to. The other important thing to remind everybody is we think shelters are a last resort. It's not going to be comfortable. It's not built for comfort. It's built out of absolute necessity. If you have somewhere else to go, if you have somebody that's willing to take you in and they're out of that hazard or danger zone, then that's definitely one of the things that we would encourage you to do now. Have those plans ahead of time.
We should be seeing our emergency guides. Our guides, are we having those?
Yes.
Are we getting those this year?
Yep. Those will be out soon. Once they do come out, you will see those. We have those available at the downtown police station, fire station, at City Hall, and also at 50 Bridge Street at the customer service building.
And that's going to be a great resource for all of our new residents.
Yes,
and
if you prefer a hardbound book, if you want an actual physical book and not have to sift through, it's also available online. You could go through everything and find all the information there. But if you'd rather have that hard copy book, then we will make that available for you as well.
You are listening to The Break Room. I'm Melissa Whistle, Communications Director for the City of St. Augustine. Today in studio, I have the pleasure of talking with St. Augustine Fire Chief and Emergency Manager Carlos Aviles. In terms of preparedness, the city has to prepare. I mean, we have a lot to do as a city as well. So I think sometimes people don't realize it's not just as residents, but the city prepares, and you see that now.
All the time. Yep. No, my schedule is pretty booked up here for the next couple of weeks. We meet with different departments within the city and make sure that we're all going through the same preparedness plans, talk about expectations, roles, responsibilities, which departments are going to handle what, and almost start that list of identifying unmet needs or resources that would need to be ordered in the event of an emergency now. So we have a bit of a game plan to go off of. So it's everything that we're telling the public to do, right? Have a plan, exercise your plan, have a checklist, make sure that you have everything that you need now, before the storm strikes. And so that's us basically doing the exact same thing now. And, and now, like I said before, now is the time to prepare. There's no, we use June 1st as the official start of hurricane season, but it's not like
all of a sudden on June 1st.
Yeah, exactly, right? We don't flip a switch and say, okay, season's open, game on.
Right.
Feel free to start spinning.
And we've seen them already circulating, developing.
Already. So this year marks the 7th year in a row that we have had tropical cyclone formation prior to the start. And, actually one of the conversations happening nationally is to move the official start of the season to May 15th, because we are now in this pattern of seeing these storms, sooner than we have been in the past.
And it's really just to make sure that folks are aware that we're not caught off guard.
Correct.
And one of the other things it's really important, I think, particularly in talking here as communication efforts, is, and you touched on it earlier, is making sure you get your information close to home. Don't watch the Atlanta Weather Channel. You could watch Jacksonville, but you really want to tune in. The St. Johns County Emergency Management has great resources. The city, we are very close in contact. Fire department, police department, marina, all of our information outlets will provide the most up-to-date information.
Yes.
And anything in particular that you guys are doing in the fire department?
No, like I said, the next couple of weeks, it's all about going back through, past practices, looking at our operational planning guidelines, meeting with partner agencies. We've got meetings scheduled with the sheriff's office, police department, county fire, county EM, and making sure that we're just finalizing all of those planning efforts that, if we did have to spend up for something, and sometimes it's not just here. Right. So one of the other things that we have to be prepared for is a regional response. Perhaps we're not the epicenter of the disaster, but a community a few hours away is. Organizing those planning efforts and making sure that we're ready to mobilize and go assist our neighbors should they need us. Those are also things that we're looking to hammer out now.
We saw that with Michael. We saw it with Maria.
Mm-hmm.
And we even received that assistance.
Absolutely. This community has benefited twice for both Matthew and Irma, utilizing the state's emergency response plan and having resources brought in from outside the region to help. And it's a huge help.
Right.
If I could talk about that briefly, this is probably one of the best kind of untold stories of Matthew. Is we had an engine strike team, which it consists of 5 fire apparatus with 4 people on them. And there were ambulance strike teams too, but the state sent all those resources into our area after Matthew to help offset some of the workload. So because we had crews that had been running, going on about 30 some odd hours nonstop. And there were just a list of calls that we were waiting to get to. So getting those resources to come in was a huge help to us during that time. And I'll never forget, one of the first days that things really started to slow down. We had a crew here from the Villages Fire Department, and we had a crew here from Pasco County Fire Rescue. And they took it upon themselves to pick up all of the debris around the fire station, clean up the property, because it was one less thing that the crews had to worry about. Right. It was just that little bit of a lull time in between disasters, and it was such an overwhelming sense of gratitude that they had come here to help us. And so when we're able to reciprocate that and send that back to other communities in their time of need, it's crucial. So when we sent crews to the Panhandle for Michael, a bunch of them were stuffed into one small volunteer fire station. It's never going to be a very, luxurious accommodations. And they spent their first 2 days helping put the roof back on that fire station for those volunteers, while running calls in between. And so, it's a really great statewide safety net that we've been able to build for folks.
That relief almost comes in to do the other stuff so that you as the city fire department can respond.
Correct.
And they can help get the rest of it that you don't have the time to do because you're responding.
Sometimes it's just a safety thing, it lets us take a breather.
Yeah.
Because it's not safe running chainsaws and heavy equipment when you've been operating for 30 plus hours straight. It's a huge help. So
the one other thing I want to make sure that we share with our listeners and our new listeners, our new residents, is, we've seen Matthew and Irma. We were affected by Dorian. So the community as a whole, I think, understands it. So they're going to feel much part of a community. But the messaging, if there are messages of action to be taken, but the other thing is the returning. If we have to ask folks to leave, we need to remind folks to be patient coming back in. And, there is a lot of work to be done in a recovery mode.
Yes. No, there's a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done, tons of hazards that need to be mitigated. If we ask you to evacuate, it's for your own good. It's out of safety and precaution. There were folks during Matthew and Irma that we spent hours trying to get to that, we shouldn't have because there shouldn't have been anybody there to begin with.
Right.
But as soon as the storm clears and the water begins to recede, then we start going through and assessing what the hazards are and whether it be debris in the roadway, electrical wires down, gas tanks leaking, all sorts of hazardous materials. Yep. In one case, there was sewage on the street. There's a lot of things that we are desperately trying to mitigate as quickly as possible. But I will tell you that in our planning efforts, one of the things that we focus on the most is streamlining and working on opening those bridges and getting people back home as quickly as possible. It's a process. And so a lot of it depends on the severity or the damage and how much the area was impacted.
And know that we're doing the best we can to get everybody back home as quickly and safely
and
as
there's
we can.
A lot of factors that go into it. If bridges get closed, then the DOT needs to send an inspector out to physically inspect and open that bridge. We don't have the authority to do it. The DOT needs to clear it to be opened. And so that's another thing that I don't think most folks recognize or realize. So look, we want you back in your home as quickly as possible, and we are going to do everything that we can. We will work nonstop to make that happen. All we ask in return is just a little bit of patience with us while we mitigate some of those hazards.
Carlos, Chief, thank you for coming by. We've run out of time. It's always a good time to have you come and talk to us, keeping us safe. You guys always do a great job, and we're really proud of the work that you do.
Thanks so much. Plan now.
As we wrap up another edition of The Break Room, I hope we answered your questions. We want to keep you informed about what's happening in and around the city, and most importantly, that you hear it here from the people doing the work and making it happen every day. Remember to like us and follow us on all of our social media platforms. You'll find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at City St. Aug, and you'll find the fire department on Facebook and Instagram at City St. Aug Fire. Until next time.
You've been listening to The Break Room, a weekly program addressing projects and programs offered by the City of St. Augustine. Join us each week as the city's communications director, Melissa Whistle, has in-depth conversations with the people who make our town work to meet the needs of our community. The Break Room is produced by communications specialist for the City of St. Augustine, Cindy Walker, and engineered by Flagler College communication major, Lily McNeil. See you at this time next week for another edition of The Break Room.